Well, Christmas has come and went, and now we're going to the new year. And Dana Brown is already saying that. Guess what? Chas McCormick has earned an everyday spot in left field. We're going to talk about that, what this means for Jordan and the Astros beyond 2024 with a special guest on this edition of Locked On Astros.
Hello and welcome to Locked On Astros, your daily Astros podcast. Here are your hosts, Eric the Man Heisman and Brett H-Town Wheelhouse Chansey.
Hey there, welcome in everybody to a special in between the holidays edition of Locked On Astros. I'm your guy, H-Town Wheelhouse with Locked On Astros. You can find me at H-Town Wheelhouse on X, Instagram, and TikTok. You can find me at Stros411 on X, Instagram, and Facebook. Always positive, always Stros. Gosh, you can find the show at Locked On Astros. It's free and easy to listen to wherever you get your podcast. Just look up Locked On Astros, even on SiriusXM. We are there. And make sure you help us get to 20,000 subscribers going into 2024. We are over 10,000. Thank y'all so much, y'all, the real MVPs. But enough about me and the show that you guys already know what to do. Hit that like button. I've got special guest, Mr. Carlos Leon. No relation to Pedro, but it is one of the hosts and creators of Just Fans podcast right out of H-Town. Carlos, welcome to the show. Tell the people where they can find you and what you're up to today.
Man, I appreciate you. First of all, that intro bangs. That intro is amazing. It's a banger. I was just like, yeah, let's go. Hey, man, thank you for having me on the show. I appreciate it. Yes, people can find us where it says here at the bottom on our X account at JustFans22. Also on our Twitter account, on our YouTube account. Also, you can find us under that same screen name at JustFans22. Help us get to 400 subscribers. We're a long way from Locked On Astros, but hey, we're getting there slowly but surely, right? But yeah, just find us under the same screen name, and same thing on our Instagram account at JustFansPod. So follow us up there for updates every day. And thank you again for having me on the show, Brett.
Oh yeah, definitely, man. I appreciate you coming on, and I just want to make sure everybody becomes an everydayer. That you guys hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, and also I need to let you know that Locked On has launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube. Locked On Sports Today is here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day with local experts like myself and Eric, and the Locked On plus our national shows covering every single league. Locked on MLB, Locked on NHL, Locked on NBA, Locked on NFL. It's all there. So go today to YouTube, subscribe to the first ever national 24/7 sports channel. So look, Carlos, let's get into it, man. This is something, we know from time to time things will come out. And we do have a little quote here from Dana Brown, and we're just going to launch into it. There's no reason to beat around the bush. We know the talk in the offseason has been the kind of surprising nature that or stance that they've taken with Jake Myers. And not because I don't think Jake Myers has the ability. I think he's probably the better of the two center fielders defensively, but it's the bat that really gives you pause. But this is a quote that Dana Brown gave to the Astro line on the Astros podcast with the guys. And he says, I thought Chas McCormick has earned the spot to play every day in left field. Dana Brown on the outfield, he also said that it looks like Jake Myers is going to get the starting spot in center. So your initial reaction, Carlos, to this?
I'm just kind of like, there were some inconsistencies out of Jake Myers, both, at bat and also a little bit, defensively, coming in. But my thing is, it almost sounds, and I might be wrong on this, it almost sounds like, hey, we couldn't find a good trade value for Jake Myers, so he's now going to be our starting, center fielder. Which, I mean, I get it because he's giving you, great plays. Yes, I think he's like you said, I think he's the best that you got back there. But there are times when you've used Mauricio Dubon back there, and he's actually done a great job. And of course, Chas McCormick. I mean, Chas McCormick has been, to me, you don't forget that World Series catch. Like that World Series catch against the Phillies, and he just leaped into the air, 30 feet in the air if you must, right? He leaped, caught it, and that was a clutch play, And I don't know, I kind of like Chas McCormick better at center field than Jake Myers. That's just how I see it. But that's how I took it. My reaction when I saw that, it almost seemed like you're confirming, to make yourself feel a little better. Hey, he's going to be our starter. He's our starter. But to me, it's almost like, and it's maybe just me reading between the lines, of course, and just thinking, is it because you couldn't find a great a trade value that you wanted for Jake Myers, or what? Like, that's how I saw it.
Right.
What do you?
And well, because they have taken, well, for me or for fans, it may seem
Mhm.
like a hard left turn. It's kind of like when
Right.
you're driving and the street's coming up,
Yeah.
and then you think maybe you've got another 500 feet. Then all of a sudden you see the street sign and you take that real quick turn and you hope like no one's you're in the middle lane. And you've been there, done that, right? Even with
Yeah.
our GPS,
Always.
it's like depth perception is not always at its best. I don't know. Maybe y'all listening think, gosh, this guy sounds like an idiot. But I'm pretty sure I'm not the only guy out there that's done that,
Yeah.
especially in Houston, right?
Oh,
Uh,
yeah.
maybe when they don't update the Google Maps and stuff like that. But to me and to us, it seems like a hard right turn or a hard left turn.
Yes.
Like you know it's coming, but you don't really expect it. And then when it's there, you're like, oh wow.
Yeah.
But let's look at it this way, Carlos. We have an organization that you and I have been able to sit back and watch, and the fans have
Mhm.
been able to sit back and watch achieve success that no other team's achieved in the last 10 years. I mean, nobody's gone to 7 straight championship series, nobody's been to 4 World Series, and nobody's won 2 the way we have.
Yes.
And so you would think there would be a level of trust with the fan base, even with myself. Oh, ye of little
Right.
faith. But we always are looking through the lens of what have you done for me lately?
Right.
And like you mentioned, it's the inconsistencies we've seen.
Mhm.
And so, if those inconsistencies were directly tied to a loss of confidence in a process of getting back to being the Jake Myers he was when he came up from Sugarland, and he's
Mhm.
far enough removed from the injury that maybe they've worked with him enough, maybe he's done off-season work, because it does seem like he misjudges the fly balls here and there some. But when he's on it, he's on it. I mean, he can make
Yeah.
great
Oh,
catches.
yeah. Oh,
So
definitely.
what I would say is I'm going to have to trust the process and believe that this is the best decision for the organization. And I would that's how I was with Maldonado. That's how I've
Mhm.
been with everybody else. It's just like, well, this is the way we're going. And more times than not, it's worked out. And outside of this anomaly of a season where we could not win a home game, you win one of those last 2 home games, I think go to the World Series. You
Oh, yeah.
absolutely beat the brakes off of the Diamondbacks. I don't think they stood a chance. I
No.
was really more worried if the Phillies got in the World Series and we met them again, because
Oh,
to
yeah.
me, they were the more formidable opponent. Of course, they fell
Yeah.
flat on their face as well.
Mhm.
It's a crapshoot. Once you get in the playoffs, because nobody in Vegas even had the Rangers
No. No.
winning the World Series, but you've got to tip your hat to them. But that's how I see it with Chas McCormick, is maybe with what Jake Myers has upside and what they know, maybe there is something there's got to be something they know that we don't.
Yeah, you bring up a great point. I do trust the organization. I do. I do trust the system that they're going through. And Dana Brown, I mean, look what he did with the Braves, right? Like he's a big integral part of it. So I think, to me, that's what it seemed like at first when I read the I was like, oh, did you not get enough trade value? But when, at the end of the day, you bring up a great point. It's like, I you trust the Astros, you trust the organization because they've given you a reason to do so, right? Like you said, you named it a two championship two World Series championships, and
Right.
they've been to the World Series countless amount of times in the last since 2017 or whatnot. And I many teams would love to be in the position that the Astros are in right now. I mean, gosh, like you said, dude, we made it to the world's to game 7 of the ALCS
Yeah.
against the Rangers. Like anybody would love to be in this position. There are teams that haven't done anything, and you remember the Cubs when went like 100 some years without even getting to the World Series. Like
Yeah.
yeah, and that's just the nature of the game. But I do trust the Astros organization, and I hope that it's for the same thing that you said, Brett. That they're seeing something that us as fans are not seeing just yet. So hopefully that's what it is.
Exactly. Yeah. And in our next segment, we're going to talk about, you know, yeah, actually, we're going to flip this. We kind of landed and like marinated on Jake in center, but we're going to talk about Jake in left field. I'm sorry, Chaz in left field after this word. Hey guys, this episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Thank y'all so much for tuning in. It is not too late to get involved. Look, the playoffs are right around the corner, and if you're a fantasy football player, you're all about it. The NFL season with FanDuel in America's #1 sports book is kicking in action right now. New customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 money line bet. That's right, $150 if your team wins. Let me show you what the odds are this week 17. The Texans and the Titans in a key game where if the Texans win and they can beat the Colts, it looks like they'll be able to squeeze into the playoffs. CJ Stroud practiced today. The Texans are plus 152. The Titans are minus 180. And the over-under is 43. So go to FanDuel today. Why are you waiting? Because look, it's easy to use. It's got a wide range of betting options, spreads, player props, over-unders, and more. So visit fanduel.com/locked on and kick off the NFL playoffs starting soon with FanDuel. That's right, America's #1 sports book. So again, thank y'all for tuning in and make sure that y'all check out the Locked On national streaming channel, 24/7 channel on YouTube. It's the only one, the first one ever in the nation covering sports of all leagues, every major story with your local experts like Eric and myself, and with our national shows for every league. Go to Locked On Sports today on YouTube and subscribe to the first ever 24/7 streaming channel. Do that now. All right, Carlos. So look, we kind of took a hard right and a hard turn there into Jake Myers. But Chaz in left field, because I want to talk about this because if he's the everyday left fielder, as Dana
Mhm.
Brown says, and there's actually another quote. I'm gonna drop some Jose Abreu talk here in a second, because there was also something he said that was key there. But him saying that Chaz has earned his spot in everyday left field. So let's take these last two topics and kind of smush them together.
Sure.
What does this do to Jordan? And first, let's answer this.
Yeah.
Putting Chaz in left field, I think he can handle left field. What about you?
Yeah. I think so too. I mean, he has the ability to do it. I mean, quite athletic. He has some speed on him. I think he'll do a great job at left field. And obviously, again, going back to the trust on the organization, I feel like if they've worked with him enough on it and they see that he's earned that spot in left field, I think that's a positive thing. And I mean, Jake, I feel like he's adaptable. He's very adaptable. He can adjust to the outfield or whatnot. So I'm interested in see how he performs at left field this season because I don't recall. Did he have any games this past season at
I
left
don't
field? I
know.
can't
I
remember if he
would,
did.
yeah,
Yeah.
I would honestly have had to look it up myself. But
Hmm.
here's one of the things. Because I just now started thinking about this. Okay, Chas McCormick, he doesn't have the strongest arm in left field,
Yeah.
but Jake Myers, unless he's gained strength in that shoulder,
Right.
last I recall, you want your center fielder throwing BBs. I mean, you
Yeah.
want your center fielder throwing max velo out of
Hmm.
the hand into the glove. The guy rounding third to go home, throw him out at home. I mean, I want like a Willie Tavares type center fielder.
Right.
I remember back. This is a really cool game I went to. Is the first time two 300 game winners had squared off, and it was Maddox versus Clemens. And actually, Dusty Baker was the
Baker.
manager of the Cubs. Aramis Ramirez, 2 games in a row, tried to score from second to first. I don't know if Aramis Ramirez was that fast, but he happened to be the guy. 2 games in a row, he rounds third base. Willie Tavares gets a screaming ground ball, scoops it full stride, crow hops, nails him at the plate. I mean,
Wow.
I just I don't see Jake Myers doing that. I mean, I
Mm-mm.
guess, are they not worried about the arm? Are they more like, oh, he'll catch everything?
I
That's the thing
I
with
think
both of these guys.
Yeah, I think it's probably that, Brett, the catchability rate as opposed to the actual throwing ability. If you remember, there was one game, I want to say it was this season or last, I can't remember. I think it was against the Rangers where Jordan was at left field and he threw that bomb straight to home and for the out. I think Maldi caught it too. And that to me, I was like, is it? Oh, there it is. Boom, out, and I don't know if Chas can do that though. I don't know if he has that in him, like if he has that arm strength to do something to replicate something like that. So I
Right.
agree with you. I honestly don't see that happening. I think it's just because of his speed and the fact that he's able to catch the ball, at a faster. Because a lot of yeah, I would say it's because of that. Because I can't see the arm strength being a factor in it.
Yeah,
So
exactly. And which kind of brings us to talk about Jordan.
yeah,
I put on here the obvious question that if anybody's watched, let's say 5 Astros games, I'm going to throw out
right.
just a number. You know that if you've seen Jordan play in the field and hit versus Jordan DHing, you just look up stats. He
Hmm.
performs a lot better at the plate when he's in the field.
Hmm.
So why does the organization take a guy who's probably more than likely one of the top 3 MVP candidates simply because Shohei is gone?
Hmm.
You got him and Tucker, both are going to be top MVP candidates. Why would you take him out of left field? Is this a health thing, you think? Is this a longevity thing because he's young and they don't want him to be hampered with injuries for the remainder of his contract so far?
I think so too. I think they're doing it for health reasons. Other than that, I mean, he performs amazing at as a DH. I mean, uh, I can, geez, yeah, I don't see. It's definitely a health issue. I don't think they want to risk him to injury, and I think that's one of the reasons why Chas took over in the left field position. I think they want to make sure that I honestly believe that Chas is obviously a lot more agile than Jordan is. I love Jordan, no disrespect. He's more agile and. But with Jordan, he has the arm strength, but I don't think he's as obviously he's not as agile as Chas McCormick is. So I think that's the main reason why, and also just to prevent from injuries. I mean, there's times when even myself, I'm like, I look and I was like, oh, Jordan's at left field, okay, and then something happens. I remember that one time he collided with Jeremy Pena also. So
Yes.
maybe situations like this against that Mets game or whatever. So I think in situations like that, I think it's more of a precaution to make sure that that Jordan doesn't see as much like outfield time and just spends more time just hitting dingers or whatnot. But like you said, it's statistically speaking, yes, he does perform a lot better at bat when he's in the outfield, right? So
Yeah,
maybe it's
exactly.
something it's something that they're probably trying to fix. But other than that, yeah, I do get concerned when Jordan's on left field sometimes. I'm like, oh, those knees, oh,
Well,
those
those
knees. But
knees and that wall. I mean,
yeah,
I love the out of town scoreboard, but all the metal and stuff,
oh yeah,
I still don't know what they're thinking with that. I think they need to pad that bad boy up. But of course, I don't know if putting pads in there would cause them to, twist a wrist or something like that.
yeah,
But speaking of longevity, speaking of that, there was another quote from this interview that Dana Brown had, and he said the first thing we're going to do with Jose Abreu is give him more time off, maybe
wow,
DH him some, give Singleton some at bats. I think if we have him rested more, it will give him more production. Now, he played 141 games
he
last year.
did,
He played a
he
lot.
did.
Remember when Dusty was preaching rest? It's so important to rest the players. And
Yes.
we were like, wait, the oldest you just signed two old players and
Mhm. Of
Abreu and JV. And of course, JV gets his rest because he's a pitcher.
course,
But
yeah,
it was almost like they refuse to sit Abreu. I don't know
yeah,
if that was directly from the top saying, look, we're giving him a lot of money and we paid him to perform and we're just going to let him perform. And Dusty's like, he's going to hit his way out of it. And he didn't really do that until later.
didn't. Yeah,
Maybe,
mhm.
though, maybe this is a recipe for success for him. And we're going to talk about that and continue to talk about Jordan here in a second. So with the health always being a concern,
Mhm.
with we know the classic Dusty, like, oh, it's a scheduled off day. We know the Astros have off days, and news flash to the fans. Just because Dusty's gone doesn't mean guys aren't going to get off days. and
Right.
doesn't mean that you're not going to tweet or X or whatever you call it now, that you're going to be frustrated. Oh, why is Joe Espada sitting so and so? I mean,
Yeah.
it's gonna happen. It's a
It's gonna happen.
162 game season, but with these topics, so now we've got Jordan's losing his everyday spot, which he wasn't every day in left field.
Right.
Now we've got Abreu getting DH spots. So does that mean
Yeah.
when Abreu is DH that Jordan's playing
Then
left and Chaz is
right.
taking a break? See what I'm
I
saying? So now we've
It's
got
like a
this
rotation.
carousel. Yeah,
Yeah, it's a rotation.
it's almost like a first DH left field rotation.
If they're gonna schedule it and like Joe Spada's gonna be like, okay, you got Monday off. Okay, Jordan, you're DHing today. Chaz, you're on break today, and then Bray is going on a break tomorrow. So it's like just different schedules every time they have a
It'll
person
be
to
like
set the schedule. Yeah.
it'll be like GameStop.
Yeah.
It'd be like, all right, we're making the schedule this week. You'll find out Sunday when you're playing this week, but it is subject to change according
Yeah.
to what the boss wants. So,
Show up, bring your
look,
gear.
right. No, look, here's the deal. Going into this season, okay, you have Jordan at DH. I think you have less pressure because you add an everyday bat in Yiner Diaz, who I
Yeah.
think is going to perform.
Mhm.
I believe, and I'm kind of slowly transitioning into like 24 and beyond. Jeremy Pena, I really hope his production goes back up. I think
Yep.
he went through a sophomore slump. But if you get more out of Pena, if Dubon is your reliable utility guy, Myers even hits 255 or 260, not like 225. You raise his average 30, 40 points.
He did.
Chaz goes out and performs.
Mhm.
Abreu stays healthy, starts a little hotter, a little sooner. I mean, Carlos, this team I think is set up for 2024. And as long as you re-sign a Tucker or a Bregman, I think you're still set beyond 24. What do you think?
I agree. I think that the Astros on paper are good as long as that productivity is there. I mean, we've seen, Jake Myers and Chas McCormick give us random home runs that we didn't expect and give the team some life when they were just completely, defeated. And then you got Altuve coming up right after that. And depending on the lineup, of course. And so gives you some life. So the talent is there. It's just how well that productivity is going to be. And if this, going back to what you said about giving Abreu a break, maybe that's going to be helpful for him to hit some home runs or whatnot, or be more productive in that case, and maybe play better defensively at times, because we saw some of those defensive plays that he made that were that balls were going right behind him on first base or whatever. So maybe he needed that. And so I think on paper, this team is still competitive. This team can still get it done and go to the ALCS, the Astros Invitational, and go to the World Series. You still have a great team. I think it just depends on that, like how well the productivity is. If Jeremy Pena starts performing, he goes back to his rookie year. If Abreu starts consistently getting hot at early on and at towards the end of it, Altuve was phenomenal this season, as opposed to the previous one, the World
Right.
Series one, where he had that slump.
Right.
Even how do you call it? I mean, Dubon, if he started, Dubon, every time you saw him, he would get hits. He will get on base. He found a way to get
Yeah.
on base. And Jake Myers, like all these guys, John Singleton, when he came in from AAA, like straight up, like he was hitting bombs for like 3 or 2 games consistently, and gave us
Yeah.
life also. And it gave Abreu a break. Yiner Diaz, like I expect a lot from him this season, especially now that we have him as a primary catcher. Like that would be helpful, as opposed to, don't get me wrong, I respect the mess out of Maldi, right? But there was, with Maldi, it was majority of the time it was a miss, but then he'd surprise you with a homer, right?
Right. Right.
And we would say the spirit of Babe Ruth lives at Maldonado right now. And
Right.
so
Exactly.
hopefully, we get something out of Yiner and he continues to ball out like he did last season. And if that keeps happening, obviously perfect case scenario, right? If that keeps happening, you got a team that can be very dominant all year round. But and then
Exactly.
Joe Espada knows this team really well as well. So
Yeah,
you
I
know,
think I think that too is just one of the keys is you have a guy that knows and understands this ball club. He
right,
sat back, he gave Dusty he gave him respect when he left. He gave him a nod, tipped his hat to him. Joe Espada knows what the game of baseball is about. And
Yeah.
baseball, I don't think will ever go away from the seniority thing. Like,
No.
if you're a rookie and you earn a spot, you are simply heads above better than everybody else that's out there. But they didn't feel like Yiner was ready. We joked about the Dusty Baker quote where he said, Houston's going to thank me later. Of course,
Yeah.
everybody said that after they lost. They're like, thanks, Dusty. But
Thanks, Dust.
I think he was thinking long term, though. I think
Yeah.
he was trying to make sure that he set up Yiner Diaz for success. And I know people out there say, well, Maldonado had an ego and Maldonado, refused to be a backup. And maybe there's some of that, but you got to put yourself in his shoes as well.
Mhm.
I know for a fact that Yiner and Maldi had a mentor relationship.
Right.
Spoke with people close and still do to this day, people close to Yiner, and he has so much respect for him. And if you've seen any of his Instagram stuff, the kid's working his tail end off
Yes.
this off season, working on
Big
his
time.
pot time, working on, hitting, and looking forward to it. We'll be having an exclusive interview with him here in the next couple months on
Nice.
Locked On Astros. So I'm excited about that. But going forward, let's kind of wrap things up here.
Yeah.
And end on this. We know Jose Altuve is going to be signed. We know Jose Altuve is going to be, he's probably more than likely going to be, if Billy Wagner isn't voted in the Hall of Fame. Let's just say after Billy Wagner, let's wish him well, because I think he deserves to be in. I think Jose Altuve
Yes.
is the next position player for the Houston Astros to go
Of
into the
course.
Hall of Fame.
Agreed.
So they got money for him. The money, though, it doesn't seem like Crane's willing to write that check. But if you,
Mhm.
Carlos, were told by Crane that you had one check to write and you could do it for any amount within reason, if he said, I want you to sign only one of these players, and he said, I need you to sign Framber, need you to sign Bregman, or I need you to sign Tucker, who are you giving that check to?
Oh, I'm the manager now. Okay, let's see.
Yeah.
You know what? Fromber, Tucker, and Bregman, right?
Right.
The way I'm looking at it is you need pitching, but Fromber lately has been, this past season after his no-hitter, it just kind of went downhill. So
Right.
I have to really think about that one. Bregman, I would say I would let it play out. He's great at he's a great third base player. Amazing. Um, I would say Kyle Tucker. I think Kyle Tucker gives us, he's amazing at right field. And then he gives you an amazing at bat as well. Like, I think if that were the case, I would sign Kyle Tucker. Yes, did he have a little bit of a slump towards the end of last season? Of course, but it happens to the greatest. Again, going back to what I said about Jose Altuve, he had a slump as well towards the end of 2022 when we won the World Series, right? So it happens to the best of them. So I think at this point, don't get me wrong, I love Fromber. I have his jersey. I have a Bregman jersey too. I love Bregman, but if I'm looking towards the future, I'm looking at Kyle Tucker. He's young and he can get it done. So I would say Kyle Tucker would be the primary person I would definitely sign that I cannot afford to lose.
I
Because he
hear
gives
you.
you a consistency. Yeah.
No, yeah, definitely. That's true. I like your choices. I think you went with the right one there. So Carlos, thank you for tuning in. Make sure y'all check out the Just Fans podcast. Subscribe to their YouTube channel. Engage with them on social media. They're
Oh
on
yeah.
Instagram. They do watch. They basically will watch a game and comment on it. They were doing that last night on X. I caught a little bit of that. And make sure that you check out the first ever 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube. Locked On Sports Today is here. 24/7 coverage of top sports stories of the local experts that you love to listen to, like myself and Eric, plus our national shows covering every league. Go to Locked On Sports Today on YouTube. Subscribe to the first ever 24/7 YouTube channel. This has been another amazing edition of Locked On Astros. Look, it may be the holidays, but we never sleep here at Locked On. And we bring on great guys like Carlos from the Just Fans
Let's go.
podcaster, That's right. He is H-Town. He is what H-Town's all about. We
H-Town,
appreciate
baby.
you, sir. The local flavor is crushing. And hey, let's send some wishes out to CJ Stroud, man.
Let's go,
get a
CJ.
win, baby. Let's go Texans. Let's go Astros. And hey, don't forget to vote for Alpreen Shingun for All-Star. Y'all have a good one. I'm H-Town Wellhouse. We're out. Go
There you
Stros.
go.